this video, I'm briefly looking over the Fool and the Trickster archetypes. I've got the Fool tarot cards and the Magician tarot card here to represent the Trickster. Got Orpheus from Persona 3, represented in that game as the Fool, and something I'm looking at I'll cover in later videos. And Joker from Persona 5 as the Trickster. And just to note a few things about what's going on with the Magician here, we know that we have the infinity symbol, we've got the Ouroboros, we have red and white. There's a surface level where apparently red may mean worldly wisdom. He has some knowledge going on. He has white for purity. But I've recently learned that red and white are the colors of the sun, which are desirable. That's something to be created. And then you have red and white as the colors of marriage. So the marriage of something, their union is something. On the table you have what represents the four elements. That's what he works with, and his hand pointing down, saying that he's creating things on earth. He's manifesting things on earth. He's making things happen, with the other hand representing working with the heavenly. And then taking a look at why we're using the Magician here, just off a picture off of Google, we have one of the sides of the Magician being the Trickster. And there's noting the word Mercury is noted here. It just so happens that Orpheus has to do with Mercurius. That's something I learned from you. We'll be covering that in a later video. But just taking a look at these together, putting it together like I did in my last video, if we've got the Fool as being and the Magician as knowing, I think this starts to make a bit of sense. If we add these together, we could get a result, we could get a process of something. If we have the Fool as being, there's some things about that. Being, or the soul by its nature, is represented by innocence. It's very simple. To the ways of the soul, to the world, can seem quite foolish. The way of, if we were just gonna live like Adam and Eve and eat some fruits and be happy and live our lives, a lot of people would call that foolish. A lot of wise people would call that wisdom. So there's a different kind of wisdom that the Fool tends to have, but then again, he's also foolish in other regards. Tends to be careless, have no discipline, have no structure, lacking in many things. And we have that Fool being the original product, right? So if we're going to put that into a formula, that's going to go back to Orpheus. That's going to have to do with a stone to be transformed, which actually technically should go on the other side here, but that's all right. And then we have the Magician, and if we take that equation from before, know thyself, well, now the Magician might make a bit more sense. He's obviously a bit more adult. He knows things. He might not even be wise, but he might appear wise. He might have some knowledge. He might not have some knowing. And I've left that as a question mark for now. I do have a theory of what, mythologically speaking, this creates, but I'll save that for later. And going back to what we did in the last video, with the same, I think it's quaternary or quaternity. But when we had put these together, being and knowledge, ignorance and imagination. And if I do that, the same thing here, here's what I just came up with on the spot. We'd have the Magician has the opposite of Magician. Well, the only thing I can think of is he has no magic. And the Fool, opposite of him, is the learned. Now, I can't make much out of that. If I rearrange it a bit, I did gain a little bit of an insight here. This works because the point of this, I learned from Jung's book, is to have double opposites. You already have two pairs of opposites, but it's making four pairs of opposites. As many opposites as you can get on every side. And the Magician is opposite to the Fool. The Fool is opposite to the learned. Well, the learned probably has no magic, so maybe it's not a perfect pair of opposites. And the opposite of the Magician is no magic. But I found this interesting because the learned man, the scholar, tends not to be very magical. They tend to be very astute, very dry. I found most interesting here was that the opposite of the Fool could be having no magic. In a different sense of wisdom, it would be very foolish to go through life without magic. If magic is, first of all, your essence, it'd be very foolish to go around without your essence. And then if magic is the thing that makes things happen in your life, then it would be quite foolish to not have magic going on. So on a more story-based perspective, the Fool wouldn't have magic because he just started out on the journey no one has taught him magic. He might have innate magic, he might be gifted, but he's got no way to use it. So practically speaking, he has no magic. Maybe you watching this video, maybe you know a bit more about these archetypes than I do. Maybe you could leave in the comments what might be the opposite of the Fool, what might be the opposite of the Magician. And I look forward to sharing more.